The following is a presentation of the esoteric teachings of Meher Baba. Hidden in plain sight from the casual reader are the esoteric teachings of Meher Baba, mischievously interwoven into his life's work and teachings. Like a constellation of stars, just waiting to be strung together. When these revealed truths come together, like beads on one string, they can, in that moment of intuitive recognition, begin to unravel the deeper secrets of the spiritual life. The purification of intuition. What is intuition? Many people seem to think that intuition is some kind of gut feel or premonition about something that is about to happen. But to this, Phyllis Frederick would say, intuition is actually not an emotion or a psychic thing. The intuition that Meher Baba is talking about, she might add, is rather something much deeper and profound. Meher Baba's intuition has to do with developing a higher contact with reality, or God. However, the modern secular conception of intuition is not the same thing. According to the dictionary, intuition is the ability to understand or know something without the need to think about it. It is the immediate apprehension or cognition of something without the need for thinking or reasoning. A common example given for the secular conception of intuition is a doctor who quickly diagnoses a patient even before the test results are in, based only on a few subtle symptoms. For the secular conception of intuition, the subject matter that is intuited can pretty much be anything of the world. But for the spiritual intuition that Meher Baba is talking about, the subject matter that is intuited cannot just be about anything. For Meher Baba, to intuit the truth means to directly perceive a deeper reality beyond the illusion of the physical world through a deep inner knowing. Rather than the surface of life, this deep inner knowing is about the essence of life. Rather than the outer world, this intuition is about the inner world. Rather than the temporal and the fleeting, this intuition hones in on the real and the eternal. Rather than the superficial, this intuition dives deep into the essence of all being and significance. Meher Baba speaks of three types of intuition. The first type of intuition that he speaks of, he called developed intuition. Developed intuition is basically the same thing as the secular idea of intuition, and is pretty much what most people mean when they speak of intuition. According to Meher Baba, developed intuition is consolidated and compressed understanding, distilled through a multitude of diverse experiences gathered in previous lives, which then become for the next incarnation an integral part of the intuitive makeup of active consciousness, without in any way involving detailed revival of the individual events of the previous incarnation. Developed intuition is basically what Immanuel Kant referred to as empirical intuition, and is developed through life experiences. The second type of intuition that Meher Baba spoke of, he called pure intuition. Pure intuition is the intuitive wisdom already latent in the soul from the very beginning of creation, and is an expression of the soul's inmost spiritual urge. Pure intuition is that transcendent understanding latent in the soul that speaks to us of the ultimate nature and purpose of life and the universe. It is that deep inner knowing that springs from the longing to go back to the source that is present in each being from the very time it gets separated from the source by the veil of ignorance. When Meher Baba speaks about our highest intuition, he is talking about this pure intuition that is latent in us all. The third type of intuition that Meher Baba speaks about, he called purified intuition. Purified intuition is developed intuition purified through revealed truth assimilation. Purified intuition is basically what emerges out of the fusion of head and heart, of intellect and love, as we tweak our developed intuition through the assimilation of revealed truths. Purified intuition therefore lies somewhere in between developed intuition and pure intuition. In a nutshell, the more we purify our developed intuition by assimilating the revealed truths into our perceptual framework, the more purified the intuitive makeup of our active consciousness becomes. Worldly developed intuition and divine pure intuition. As far as our lower developed intuition is concerned, the subject matter that is intuited can pretty much be anything worldly or anything of the world. The developed intuition of that experienced auto mechanic in the previous video, who knew it was your carburetor as soon as he heard your engine, is a good example of developed intuition, developed over the years of experience repairing cars. The subject matter of Meher Baba's intuition, however, could not be something that is worldly in nature or pertain merely to the surface of life. Rather than the surface of life, this intuition is about the essence of life. Instead of the fleeting and the temporal, this intuition hones in on the real and the eternal. Instead of being impressed from without, this intuition dawns from within. Instead of being of the world or about it, this intuition hones in on the transcendent, which is beyond the world. The transcendent understanding latent in our pure intuition is our highest intuition, with our purified intuition being the next highest form of intuition available to us. When Meher Baba speaks of the importance of intuition, he's referring to these two higher forms of intuition, and not our lower developed worldly intuition. The higher intuitions are the ones that dawn from within and draw us closer to the inner life rather than the outer life. About this intuition, Phyllis Frederick, a close companion of Meher Baba, who often spoke on behalf of Meher Baba, would say, "Intuition is not an emotion or a psychic thing. It is not imagination. In some sense, it is developing a higher contact with reality, or God, than that which reason can provide." These words are significant because they are coming from a rather well-known psychic herself, with all kinds of stories about her psychic abilities. But according to Adele Walken, Meher Baba had asked Phyllis to stop all her psychic activities, which she promptly did. For a psychic and close companion of Meher Baba like Phyllis Frederick, to stress that intuition is not a psychic thing or a premonition speaks to a widespread misconception about intuition which she was trying to address. About pure intuition, Meher Baba teaches us that true faith, which is grounded in pure intuition, is an imperative so fundamental and primary that it cannot ultimately be reduced to the conclusions of rational intellect, nor can it be derived from the limited intellect. To use a computer as an analogy to explain how fundamental and primary pure intuition is, if our minds were likened to a computer's operating system, then the various skills we developed over the years would be like the applications that we installed on the computer's operating system. By applying our minds to it, we can become competent in a variety of subjects. In this analogy, this would be like installing different applications on top of the computer's operating system. The transcendent understanding latent in our pure intuition, however, resides not at the application level, nor at the operating system level, but at the machine code level of the computer. Machine code is the lowest level of software on a computer, upon which the operating system is installed. And it is on top of the operating system that the various applications are installed. Because machine code underpins the operating system, the machine code level of software is an imperative more fundamental and primary than the operating system, which in turn is an imperative more fundamental and primary than the application level of the computer. Meher Baba tells us that the transcendent understanding of pure intuition, which is the ground of true faith, cannot ultimately be reduced to the conclusions of rational intellect, because it is not derived from the limited intellect, but is more fundamental and primary, with the result that it cannot be silenced by any intellectual acrobatics. Just as a finger cannot point at itself, the very foundation of our rational intellect cannot be examined by the rational intellect. Yes, we can reason from first principles, but we cannot produce primary first principles from reason. Likewise, no amount of intellectual acrobatics can ever reach the soul level of our being. The transcendent understanding of our pure intuition is at the soul level of our being, which is an imperative more fundamental and primary than the mind level of our being, which in turn is more fundamental and primary than the intellectual level or application level of our being. Our pure intuition was latent in us at the soul level of our being, long before our individualized minds were ever fully developed, which happens when we reach the human form. Our pure intuition, therefore, underpins our minds. In almost the same way, the groundwork for machine code was first worked out long before the dawn of computers by Blaise Pascal in 1642, which in turn was long before the dawn of any operating systems, let alone applications. About our pure intuition, Meher Baba states, "This intuition may seem to have been the product of past experiences, thus adding to the equipment of the psyche, but it is more truly an unfoldment of what was already latent in the individualized soul. From this deeper point of view, all our past experiences are merely instrumental in gradually releasing to the surface the intuitive wisdom already latent in the soul from the very beginning of creation." The transcendent understanding of pure intuition is the intuitive wisdom that was latent in the soul of every being since the very dawn of creation. This is true of all beings, including rocks, trees, and even cockroaches. The transcendent understanding of pure intuition can thus be said to be universal, even omnipresent, as it is present in all beings. Unlike our pure intuition, however, our developed intuition can be unique to each individual jivatma and can vary vastly from one individual to the next, just like the applications installed on our devices can vary vastly from one person to the next. About our developed intuition, which only begins to develop once the individual soul, or jivatma, reaches the human stage of evolution, Meher Baba says, "In the successive incarnations of an individual soul, there is an uninterrupted reign of the law of cause and effect through the persistence of the operation of karma. The successive incarnations, with all their particulars, are closely and unfailingly determined by rational law, so that it becomes possible for the individual soul to mold its future through wise and intelligent action. This ability to mold our future through wise and intelligent action is none other than our lower developed intuition, which is primarily rational. This is because, throughout all our previous lives, the primary agent that informed the development of our lower developed intuition are the ceaseless operation of rational processes, determined inexorably by what Meher Baba calls rational law. Karmic determinism, which is the uninterrupted reign of the law of cause and effect through the persistent operation of karma, is precisely what informed our ability to be wise and intelligent, in the world, that is. And as such, our developed intuitions are always being modified, altered, and upgraded through the persistent operation of rational law. In sharp contradiction, our pure intuition is itself not subject to any kind of change or modification whatsoever. In this sense, pure intuition can be said to be more like hardware than it is software. And as such, it can be buried under the piecemeal lessons of the past, or be buried under the tutoring of the mind by the assailing experiences of the false illusory world. But it cannot itself suffer any kind of diminution, alteration, or corruption of any kind. While our ever-upgrading, developed intuition is constantly being impressed from without, our unchanging and immutable, pure intuition is what dawns from within. Meher Baba puts it this way: tuition is impressed from without, while intuition dawns from within. In another book, Meher Baba states it this way: learning is impressed from without, while intuition dawns from within. About how our developed intuition can often stand in stark opposition to our latent, pure intuition, Meher Baba explains. In order to intuit the truth, consciousness has to be liberated from its ingrained and resistant inclinations. Intuition has been buried under the piecemeal lessons of the assailing experiences of the false. Tuition is impressed from without, while intuition dawns from within. Tuition thwarts intuition. Therefore, the tutoring of the mind by external impacts, which is our developed intuition, has to be counteracted by inner awakening. Then and only then can intuition, in its transcendent understanding, truly judge without yielding to the stupor of uncritical impressionability. Wow, what a statement. Yes, tuition here is none other than our lower developed intuition, which is learned through past life experiences. And yes, it can stand in stark opposition and even thwart our pure intuition from dawning to the surface of consciousness. As stated above, developed intuition is consolidated and compressed understanding, distilled through a multitude of diverse experiences gathered in previous lives. Developed intuition is basically the tutoring of the mind by external impacts, which has to be counteracted by inner awakening. What is being suggested here is not to discard our developed intuition, or to ignore it altogether, or erase it. After all, it is our lower developed intuition that allows us to be wise and intelligent in the world. What is being suggested here is to purify our developed intuition. Purified intuition is none other than our developed intuition, purified through revealed truth assimilation into our perceptual framework, or what Baba calls our intuitive makeup. The purification of intuition is what occurs when a set of revealed truths, taken as a whole, become an integral part of the intuitive makeup of our active consciousness. As we purify our developed intuition, the revealed truths go from our heads to our hearts. As we gradually transition from the shores of his ocean of love to the very depths. So how does the purification of intuition actually work? The purification of intuition is achieved through what a Christian saints called contemplation. Contemplation is the act of pondering on the words of God with the intention of building up a whole and complete view of life and the universe. In the discourses, Meher Baba refers to this type of meditation as general meditation, and he says that it marks the very beginning of spiritual life. So naturally, as a neophyte aspirant wannabe myself, general meditation, or contemplation on the revealed truths, is exactly where I started my journey towards the spiritual path. Under the title, Function of General Meditation, Meher Baba states, "The task of general meditation is to bring together the different facets of the truth and build up a whole and complete view of life in which thought is free, comprehensive, and receptive to all aspects of the truth." He adds, in its comprehensive scope, general meditation seeks to understand and assimilate the divine truths of life and the universe. Building up a whole and complete view of life and the universe is the ultimate mission or final objective of general meditation. For a Meher Baba follower, the revealed truths given through his teachings must form the metaphysical foundation of our worldview first, prior to appending to it the teachings of other masters and faiths. To this end, Meher Baba adds, "The discourses or the writings of the Avatar and the perfect masters, whether living or of the past, are suitable objects for this mode of general meditation, because the assimilation of divine truths revealed through them enables the aspirant to bring his life into line with God's purpose in the universe." For general meditation, the key phrase here is comprehensive in scope. This is because, as Meher Baba says, true spirituality is comprehensive. In the discourses, Meher Baba says, "The life of the spirit is a unified and integral existence that does not admit of any exclusive or unrelated compartments. The life of the spirit is an unceasing manifestation of divine love and spiritual understanding, and both these aspects of divinity are unrestricted in their universality and unchallengeable in their inclusiveness." In other words, to abide in the life of the spirit, not only must our love be unrestricted in its universality and unchallengeable in its inclusiveness, but also our spiritual understanding must be unrestricted in its universality and unchallengeable in its inclusiveness. For an aspirant, this means that the revealed truths that have come to humanity through all the masters of wisdom, whether living or of the past, can all be brought together like beads on one string to form a spiritual understanding in which thought is free, comprehensive, and most importantly, receptive to all aspects of the truth. Case in point, Upasani Maharaj's selected talks, for example, need not forcibly be excluded or arbitrarily restricted in some unrelated compartment by the aspirant. In the preface of Upasani Maharaj's selected talks, it clearly states that his teachings were for people of all walks of life, including Muslims, Zoroastrians, and Christians. When Meher Baba says the discourses or the writings of the Avatar and the perfect masters, whether living or of the past, are suitable objects for this mode of general meditation, I believe by living, he was slyly referring to Upasani Maharaj's discourses. Instead of relegating Upasani Maharaj's teachings to some unrelated compartment, the aspirant can include Upasani Maharaj's teachings as an integral part of his even more comprehensive spiritual understanding. The same can be said of the revealed truths given to humanity by all the masters of wisdom that Meher Baba, for example, included in the curriculum of the Hazrat Babajan High School, which was a school formed by Meher Baba for the ordinary children of Arangoon, and not the Prem Ashram, which was a school formed for the spiritually advanced. Having said this, it is important to point out again that one should be thoroughly well acquainted with Meher Baba's cosmology and metaphysics prior to appending to it the teachings of these other masters, saints, and religions included in the Hazrat Babajan curriculum. See Lord Meher for further details. Trying to fit in all the various teachings of all the masters of wisdom together into one comprehensive metaphysical whole is no easy task, and can take nothing short of furious thinking. To this end, Meher Baba tells us that the perception of spiritual truths requires not merely strenuous and furious thinking, but clear thinking and true clarity of thought. Meher Baba had said that he had come to revitalize all religions and bring them together like beads on one string. He did not say that he had come to destroy all the religions and turn them to ashes, now did he? Yes, many of the dogmas, creeds, rituals, and rites of these religions may have to go. But the eternal principles and truths contained in the doctrines of these avataric religions are to be brought back to life by none other than the Avatar himself. To this end, he said, I have come not to establish anything new. I have come, instead, to put life back into the old. Throughout eternity, I have laid down principles and precepts, but mankind has ignored them. Man's inability to live God's words makes the Avatar's teachings a mockery. These principles that the Avatar laid down in the past for humanity are eternal. As aspirants, in due course of time, we can expect the eternal principles contained in true Christianity to be revitalized and brought back to life, as well as the eternal true principles of true Buddhism, true Islam, etc. All the 5 avataric religions, as Meher Baba says, will be revitalized and brought back to life in their former glory one day soon to kickstart the new humanity. The task of general meditation, as Meher Baba puts it, is to bring all the different aspects of the truth together into one universal and inclusive spiritual understanding that does not admit to any exclusive or unrelated compartments. It is astounding to think that such a monumental task as general meditation only marks the very beginning of spiritual life. In essence, general meditation can be said to be where it all begins. However, it is important to note here that general meditation is not an attempt by the mind to understand the limitless with the limited intellect. The revealed truths are very clear about how the limitless infinitude of God could never be understood by the limited intellect. To even think that one could understand the limitless with the limited intellect indicates an utter lack of understanding of the revealed truths as a whole, and an utter misunderstanding of the function and purpose of general meditation. General meditation, make no mistake, is instead a comprehensive war on ignorance and false dogmas. What is comprehensive spiritual understanding? In Lord Meher, in a section titled Our Ills and Our Remedies, Meher Baba says, and I paraphrase, true spiritual understanding, which is as much of the heart as of the mind, that includes and supersedes all forms of knowledge, is the remedy of all remedies for all of humanity's ills. All of them. For this to occur, for most of us, the assimilation of divine truths into our heads and our hearts is essential. For a select few, this might have already been achieved to a great extent in previous lives. But still, a refresher course couldn't hurt now, could it? The assimilation of a revealed truth is what begins to occur when a revealed truth is grasped and understood in such a way that it fits in nicely with a network of interconnected revealed truths that taken together form a coherent whole. For an aspirant who is a Meher Baba follower, as a general rule, the metaphysics and cosmology revealed through the words of Meher Baba should form the bedrock foundation of his worldview first, prior to appending to it the teachings of any other master or faith. Likewise, for someone who is a Muslim, for example, the teachings of the Quran and the Prophet must first form the bedrock foundation of his worldview, prior to appending to it the teachings of other masters and saints. But in the end, for the aspirant, who is someone who seeks right understanding, all the teachings that have come to humanity through all the various verified masters of wisdom should ultimately come together like beads on one string to form a coherent spiritual understanding that is all-inclusive and comprehensive in scope. Our worldview is what alters our view of the world. A revealed truth cannot be said to be assimilated unless it has become an integral part of the intuitive makeup of our active consciousness. And this function of general meditation requires nothing less than a holistic approach. Like watching a video of a building demolition in reverse, it is when the various pieces of revealed truths come together like beads on one string to form an integral whole that we experience that resounding aha moment. It is this moment of intuitive apprehension or recognition of a latent, deep inner truth that ignites our hearts, initiating the truth assimilation process. This aha moment of comprehension is what results in conviction, which in turn naturally leads to heartfelt assimilation. We are only ever really convinced of the things that we feel we fully grasp. And once fully grasped, we naturally take it to heart, which is assimilation. I can recall many occasions wherein a set of revealed truths, once thoroughly grasped, would in a flash devastate the very landscape of my previously held faulty worldview. False core assumptions of modernity. All post-Renaissance ideologies are plagued with fundamental false assumptions or false core dogmas. Of all the different types of falsehoods that one could dogmatically embrace, the fundamental assumptions that lie at the very foundation of our worldview are the most detrimental and difficult to uproot. Uprooting and replacing these false first principles or false core assumptions with the infinity of the truth can have a profound effect on the individual Jivatma's psyche, eventually affecting a wider part of his personality. When a revealed truth eviscerates a firmly held false first principle or false core assumption at the very foundation of our worldview, the cascade of repercussions reverberating throughout the structure of our perceptual framework can drastically alter how we see and experience everything. Before you know it, the very tone and tenor of life has shifted from within, guided, of course, by the revealed truths. Reverberating from the inside out, the cascade of these profound perceptual adjustments can be both devastating and blissful at the same time. But in the end, make no mistake, Meher Baba says, and I paraphrase, destruction is a need for reconstruction. And this process starts from within. It is from the ashes of my previously held faulty worldview, that the phoenix of a newly upgraded worldview can arise in its place. Like a master potter, remolding the clay of my perceptual framework. Over the years, Meher Baba's revealed truths have remolded the very contours of my worldview many times over, and through it, remolded the intuitive makeup of my active consciousness, at times even from the very ground up. It is only through the destruction of the previously held faulty worldview that a path opens up for a new way of perception to come into view. For the purification of intuition to occur, as it should, it is important that the aspirant remains receptive to all aspects of the truth, regardless of how ridiculous some revealed truths may sound at first. And as such, picking and choosing only the teachings or doctrines that suit our tastes and our current ideas of life, and ignoring the ones that we find somehow disagreeable or bothersome, can result in a profoundly skewered and vitiated worldview. As Meher Baba would often quote, "About what you hear from your master, never say it is wrong, because, my dear, the fault lies in your incapacity to understand him." Hafiz. The quest of the aspirant in general meditation is to see the world through the master's words, as guided by the master's words, in such a way that conforms to both the letter and spirit embodied in the master's words. And for this to occur, imagination is key. In the next installment, we will examine the importance of creative imagination and probe deeper into what Meher Baba had to say about the role of imagination for the purification of intuition.